Hey there, welcome to the latest episode of Hiker Homily. Hi, Mickey. You can't see him, but my dog has come to visit. Anyway, one of my dogs. And excuse the wind, because as usual, I was just out here watering my garden. It was nice and calm and beautiful. As soon as I set this camera up, wind. All right. Anyway, this episode of Hiker Homily, we're going to talk about something that I mentioned quite a bit about, things that you should do before you go hiking. Research. And I've talked a little bit about how I'm pretty decent at research. I mean, it's what I learned to do in college as a history major. That's pretty much what you learn to do, is research things. It's not memorizing dates of important events and things like that. You do a little bit of that kind of thing, but really what a history major learns how to do is look for primary sources and research events, so you really understand those events, why they took place. Research can be applied to lots of other places in life. It's not just a thing for scientists. It's not just a thing for, history majors who are studying things. It's not just archaeology. Research can be very important. And so I wanted to kind of go through the steps of what I do generally for research and thing. And so the very beginning, it's the start. What am I going to research and why am I researching it? And for the case of hiking and backpacking and things, it's generally you're researching a trail or an area that you're going to go hiking in and things like that. So for me, the start's going to be the source. Where do I get the idea? Now, for me personally, the top three that I'm going to go over is my thing. There are other ways to get ideas and things like that, but this is just kind of the top three. And so the first one, in no particular order, the first one I'll go over is you get ideas online through various sources. And for me, that's generally either some kind of a map program. I'm not going to advertise any specific one, but there are a couple popular map programs. And then it's just a matter of you're looking at maps and you're looking for things so simple that are usually marked in a certain color to signify that they are a park or some kind of a preserve, whether it's a state park, national park, local park. They're all going to be color coded to a certain thing, and then you kind of zoom in on that. Sometimes certain map apps, you can just click on them and they'll give you basic information on it. And other times you can actually see when you zoom in on things, oh yeah, here's this particular park here and it's blah 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 regional park, and I can actually see the dotted lines. There are hiking trails in this park. And then I click out of the map thing and go to the satellite view, and that's really gorgeous. There's a lot of forest there, and it's this and that and some hilly terrain. Cool. So you get some basic ideas there. You can also use apps like All Trails and a few other. There are different other types of apps. I've done a review on All Trails, and I'm not endorsing them. I'm just saying that is one of the apps, especially that I use, where you can even just type in a general area. Hey, I am here, and so within 50 miles, what are the places to hike? And it's a pretty good app to kind of give you a list to start from and things like that. The other source that I will get things from are reference books. A lot of hikers have them. I have a decent collection of them. Mostly in my area. You can get them for other areas, obviously, and things like that. But you use these reference books to kind of give you your basic ideas. A lot of the times these reference books will include important information you're going to need later. They'll give you a basic map oftentimes. They'll give you a way to get to the trailhead and all that kind of information, basic little review of the trail and things. So that's kind of important information that we'll get into later. But at the very least, it is a nice list. A lot of these books are literally just lists of different trails that you can try to get in your area. There are some drawbacks to reference books compared to like some of the online stuff. The online stuff should be the most current information, where sometimes books will be like, oh yeah, here's blah blah blah, and who knows, the book might have been published 10 years ago and that trail is closed now, it doesn't exist anymore, they've changed it. There's other, the trailhead has been moved. So you got to take that into account and double check things. And then the third and really good way that I get information will be hiker recommendations. Other fellow hikers in our community. Hey, have you ever hiked the such and such trail? Oh man, I did that last year. It was fantastic. Have you ever done such? Oh yeah, I drive up to blah 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 all the time. There's a little area you can park and a trailhead. It's fantastic. Things like that, and that's a good starting point there. And you can get hiker recommendations either online or in person if you're hanging out with your hiker friends and things like that. There are different ways to do it. So the next step after that, just very beginning and things like that, is the actual investigation you're going to do. It kind of sounds like you're a detective, right? But you're going to want to find out certain information once you've got okay, this sounds really good. I got this idea from a fellow hiker, or I found it online, or this book told me, here's a good trail. So now I'm going to find out really if that's a trail I want to do by getting basic information. And some of that information, it's good to find out, does this trailhead, if it's in especially a local park, national park, state park like that, is there a website for it? So go to that actual website for that area, and they can give you more information about the area and things like that. Other websites may include it, or other apps will have information. Again, the AllTrails app will usually give you basic information on the trail, even oftentimes a elevation profile, things like that you're going to want to know before you hike it. Other basic info that you're looking for, and looking at my notes here to make sure I don't leave anything out, is, what kind of a trail are you talking about here? Is this going to be a loop trail? Is it an out and back trail? If you're talking about a backpacking trip, is this one of those ones where it's going to be long enough that you're going to park your car here and you're going to end up way somewhere else, so you might need help logistically with somebody picking you up there to get you back to your car? Or are you going to need to call an Uber or something like that to get you back to your car? Or are you going to do, we've done it many times before in our favorite area, we'll just park in the Highway 80 area right off of Boreal there, and either park off the fire road, or we'll park in one of the actual parking areas, rest areas and things like that, and then we'll backpack into a certain spot. We'll enjoy a day or two in this area, and then we'll pack back out the same way back to the cars. But you're gonna have to figure out what you're gonna do about that, what kind of a trail this is, and help you figure out those logistics for that. Are there maps of this area of different types? How detailed are they? Can you get an actual geological survey map of the area that's detailed enough? Maybe the actual website, if it's on in a park or something like that, maybe they provide a decent map and things like that. Do you need permits in this area of any kind? If you're backpacking, it's in California, you're going to need a California fire permit at the very least. Those are free, they're easy to get online, but you are supposed to have one if you are backpacking or camping anywhere in California and things like that. Does it require a backcountry permit if you're backpacking in certain areas? Those are also typically free, and you have to figure out how to get those, because sometimes, depending on where it's at and what's going on, you can just email or write to or call the local ranger station, and they'll set you up and they'll mail it to you. Other times, no, sorry, you have to actually show up here, fill out a form and sign it, and then we'll hand it to you and things like that. So you got to figure that out ahead of time, what you're going to need, things like that. So that's the big part of the investigation. And of course, you're going to want to know exactly the location where this is compared to where you live, because that's going to give you a lot of your logistical information. How am I going to get there? Can I take a bus to this little town and the trailhead's right there? Do I have to drive there? The logistics it's going to take there. How far away is it? Is this something like when I do some of the East Bay regional parks? Most of the time I can just drive there. It's going to take me an hour or so, so I drive. That means I have to start early, and that's why you do the research, because then I know. I start early, I get there, I go, have a great time hiking, back in my truck, and drive home. Oh, okay, but what if this particular hike I want to do is, say, on the Central Coast or Southern California? Like say down in the desert and stuff like that. Okay, that's more than an hour drive for me. That's going to be a 6-7 hour drive tops for me. And so that's one of those things like, okay, so when I'm done with my hike, what am I going to do? If I'm backpacking, I'll park my car wherever I can, and I'll go backpacking and then back to the car. But what if it's like a couple of day hikes I want to do? I'm going to have to find a place to stay the night, right? So again, you're checking that ahead of time, so you have all of that logistical stuff figured out. The next step after you've got all that investigation done and you have this information is the finalization. You actually get a map if you can. Now again, if there's not one online printable and things like that, you're actually going to try and get a hold of a map. And I understand there's a lot of people, oh, my map is my phone. And that's great. For me, it typically is too. I use my phone. I have several mapping apps that work fantastic, depending on which trail I'm on and things like that. There's a lot of good maps out there. I always, and I suggest you do too, not ordering anybody around, but I do suggest you always have a paper map backup just in case. There's nothing wrong with a little redundancy. A paper map does not weigh anything restrictive to worry about having it. Even if you never pull it out of your backpack, it is not that weighty to worry about it being in there and being useless. But if you need it at some point, it is good to have. If something happens to your phone for whatever reason and the maps don't work on your phone anymore, you've got that paper backup. So I always carry one. You're going to set what gear you need. Is this a day hike? And it's going to be this long, so I'm going to need this much food, this much water. I'm going to carry this with me and this kind of jacket. I'm going to have this kind of backup thing. You're going to need to figure all those kind of things out. If it's a backpack trip, is there good water sources? Am I going to end up carrying all my water for the entire trip, so I got to carry a lot? Or, okay, there are water sources here that appear to be pretty good, so I'm going to bring my filter with me, and we're going to do it that way. How much food I'm going to need. All those things are being finalized at this point. Setting up your gear, your food, your water. You're going to get the permits you need, whatever they are. Whether it's a backcountry permit, a fire permit, trail permit. Some certain trails you actually either need to jump into a lottery or get a permit for it, things like that. You get all of that at this stage. You pay your fees. If you need reservations for things like hotels, or sometimes you actually need to make a reservation to actually jump off on a certain day for certain trails and things like that, that's what you do. You do that at this point. You take care of those things, and then the final step is you hike. You go do it. And things like that. So it can be a little involved, but at the same time, if you just follow those pretty simple steps, you're going to get your starting point. What am I looking at? What kind of hike? Oh, this is interesting. I got it from these whatever sources. I want to try this hike. You're going to investigate it, get all the basic information on it, what you need, all those kinds of things that may be out there. The next step is the finalization, where you actually get the things you need. You set your gear up. You've got it all set. Your fees are paid, your reservations are made, you got all your permits, you're all set, and you head out and hike. 4 easy steps for researching to get out there. And that's pretty much what I do when I want to figure out like a new place. There's a lot of things you don't have to do a lot of those steps. Like for Black Diamond Regional Park, I just make sure I have the map of the park, and those are readily available either online. They usually have them out there at the actual trailheads themselves, and I have my own copy and things like that. So I'll grab that. I figure out I'm going to try and do this trail. I estimate based on my own personal speed it's going to take me this long, so I'm going to need this much water, and I'm going to need food of this type, and I'm going to carry this and this and this with me. That's my basic gear. Off I go. Okay. If it's a backpack trip, I'm going to be more involved in that and things like that. So you don't always have to hit all these steps depending on where you're going, but especially if it's a place you've never been before, totally cold, never heard of it before, you have to figure out what's going on there, you should use those 4 steps. You're going to start, you're going to investigate, finalize, hike. So that's pretty much what we're doing for that. That's research in a nutshell for how I do it. Hopefully that was kind of helpful to you. I really do hope so. And hopefully the wind isn't drowning out my voice, because like I said, it wasn't here when I was out here earlier. But of course, when I'm shooting the video, that's when it decides to kick up here. That's about it. Do you have anything you would add? Like I say, this is the way I kind of generally do research. There may be other things other people might want to do. There's always other sources besides the main 3, because those are just the main 3, my favorite 3, that where I get most of my hike ideas from and things like that. There's other ways to do it. So any comments and questions, as always, leave them down below. Anywhere else where I post this on social media, and of course, as always, at hikingforhealthca@gmail.com. And other than that, thanks for watching. Definitely appreciate it. And I'll catch you next time.